It's a good day for singing a song. It's a good day for moving along. It's a good day. How could anything go wrong? It's a good day from morning till night. Boy.
Well, once upon a time, there was a great celebration in the land, and I missed it. But chances are you weren't there either. But you know what? There's good news. You're going to be able to see it. And we'll talk about that today here on the Public Square. 1,000 apologies, Dave Zanotti. I could not be there for the grand celebration on July 4th.
It was the first question that was asked to me when I got to the crowd.
Oh,
people came up and said, "Where's Wayne?"
Sure. Where's Waldo? Yeah.
And I said, "Well, he quit." And they went, "What? No, it's just kidding. Just kidding. He couldn't be here. He'll be here for Christmas."
He went home in a snit. Yeah, right.
Yes. So, Wayne, I found this card, this index card, and this is old, a couple of years old. And this was me jotting logos down for Declaration 250 and seeing that there were all kinds. There's a congressional committee that's been around for 10 years, and there's a presidential committee coming on. And I thought, reviewing all their materials and what their plans and all that sort of stuff is what was supposed to happen. I thought, there's a really good chance that those folks are going to land a giant dud on this. And so we better get ready to do what we feel needs to be done to make sure that the truth about the Declaration is stated again, clean and clear and joyfully. And so that started all of the processes. Now, this was a couple of years ago.
I want to see that card.
Oh, yeah.
You got to pass it over. I guess.
There it is. That's the back side is older than the other side. So, yeah. So what happened was very quickly, the thought came to me about the 15-year discovery that we had when we found that John Quincy Adams quote about Christmas and the 4th of July. And so in January of 2025, I took on the writing assignment to get this book written on oration. And I got lost, just lost. Of course, I've been in the research for this thing for quite some time. And the unfolding of this became such a magnificent challenge. How could we bring that day in 1837 when America's founding son stood up and said, "I've got to tell you some things." And he's 70 years old, and it's a hot day, and everyone in the whole town is shut down, and they're standing outside the meeting hall. Hundreds can't get in, and they had invited him to come and give them an oration on the 4th of July. So got that book put together, and I sent it out to Dr. Allen, and I said, would you collaborate with me? And he had already said yes in advance. And so we started our collaboration on it then to build it into a commentary on both the speech and the Declaration and the life of John Quincy Adams as they all came together. Well, then that led us to say, well, let's do Christmas in America on that year. Let's pick 1837. And so that would still keep us well ahead of all these other organizations that were celebrating because we were launching in 2025. So good news is Anna was able to lay out a beautiful book, and the printer, which, by the way, full disclosure, the printer was Canadian. There's still hope. Okay, the Canadian family that runs this wonderful printing company printed the book, and we got the book available. I can tell you when it hit the door in Tennessee before Christmas in America, we were like, oh, thank God the angels came through again, and we've got the book. So this is all before we even get to this calendar year. Mm-hmm. And then the idea of, okay, let's have a giant picnic celebration on the property of Valley City at the American Mission Center. And all of this discussion came forward to the point of what can we do to put a permanent tribute to the Declaration together? And as the ideas began to unfold, what happened was not just a statue or a monument, but a museum and a gallery and a gathering hall and an education center and a theater. And we would together, as a generation of believers, come together from across the country and build a tribute that if the Lord tarries, God willing, 250 years from now, people will be able to say, I remember on this land, I've heard the stories of what these people did and how they started this tribute, and we're still walking in those steps.
What a fabulous vision, man.
Yeah. and you missed it.
Man,
Ouch! Ouch!
well, that was cold.
I think that whole thing was just a setup so he could say that punchline.
Exactly. Yeah, but that was a long payoff there.
A big wind up right there.
But the good news is that I can still see it. Right?
You can still see it and you can still hear it. We started this segment with the opening song. It's a Good Day. And your one of your best friends, Jeff Taylor, was there with his wonderful band.
Well, yeah, the band has a new name. Jeff, it was called Dave's Personal Band, Dave Zanotti's Personal Band. That's the new name of the band.
Jeff Taylor said that from the stage.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they need T-shirts, Dave. We got to make them T-shirts.
Dave's personal band. So we brought two of our dearest sets of musical friends together for this celebration. Now, again, you got to imagine, and we've got drone shots, by the way. They're in the video. All right, we've got drone shots of the property. People came from 8 states to join us. Can you believe that? Somebody drove from Colorado Springs the whole way here to be a part of this celebration. And it was a 3-hour event. Can you believe people driving 3 days for 3 hours?
And foreign countries, too.
Yes.
My future daughter-in-law came all the way from Brazil. How about that?
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So Wayne, it was a thrill. Now there's so many stories we've got to get to today behind the scenes that you won't hear on the video.
Okay, good.
Right, but that's the first one is the index card. All right, the index card is the first piece of evidence.
These are good, Dave. I like these logo designs.
We figured it out. So the idea is, first off, we're coming together and we put this tent together. Now we're trying. Go ahead, Alan. You got to say it.
Well, I wish Rob was here right now because Rob had such a responsibility to get this tent in place, and the tent just kept getting bigger.
He didn't know that his entire presidency of the organization was on this. It was the ultimate test. The trustees had said, if he can't get us a tent bigger than Bill Gaither's, he's out.
On the job description, it's other duties as assigned, right? Yeah, the last line of every job description, other duties as assigned.
Yes, well, this was certainly one of those, Wayne. The tent just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So it was funny when we were filming the video. You'll notice this when you go watch the video. You'll see the opening shot. Jonah was directing the whole performance, but I had one request for Jonah. I said, we've got to start up at the highest part of the tent. And
Good call.
Need to pan down. I go, because we got the biggest tent we possibly could get.
Yeah, on this side of the Mississippi, I think we got the biggest one. Yeah,
there's not a lot of people that are doing in the tent business.
No.
So if you're looking to start a business, I think there's some space there.
Well, and here's what we discovered, that when we put the tent on, and so you've got like 400 plus seats set up in this tent, and we set it on the exact ground where Declaration Hall is going to go up, and so without even thinking about it, when we got there, we all said, okay, here's how this works. All right, now we're facing east to west. Now just turn your chair and look to the south, and you'll literally be in the theater where you're sitting right now. You'll be there in 2 years. You will be sitting in this building. And then everyone started to laugh, and we said, well, here's the good news about it. It's really expensive to rent these tents. It's actually cheaper to host your own events. So we should build this thing.
Exactly. Well, and one note about the tent folks. They're listeners to the Public Square, supporters. They were some of the best people to work with. And I think Rob would say
I got a tear when they took the tent off the property. I've already missed it.
When people think about putting up a tent, I think of like camping, and I just have some tent pegs and stuff. No, not with this. Okay, first of all, it's a circus tent. And those poles,
totally fitting.
Those steel poles in the middle, they drove them into the ground with some kind of really large impact tool. That thing was not going to blow over. Now, other things might blow over.
Which is a part of the real story behind the story, because, Wayne, on Friday, it took a week to put it together, and all players were coming together on Friday. Finally, everything's supposed
July
to be ready.
3rd,
Video,
right?
Everything's ready to set to go. Right. Only problem is we got straight line winds at God knows how high that came right across the property in a giant storm about 6:30, 7 o'clock that night, and literally blew all the walls of the tent straight up in the air. All of the side tents that we'd assembled for kids on the score and everything got completely blown. I mean, we couldn't get them down fast enough. It happened so fast. And we were watching the radar.
Yeah, well, it was funny. Most of our kids were in the building at this time helping to get set up and get ready. Ethan, my son, walks in. He goes, Dad, Jonah's running. Like he just thought maybe I should know. And so I looked out the window, and Jonah and Sarah are wrangling a tent. It was like Snoopy fighting with one of his, a chair or something.
And one of them had snapped and was actually heading straight to the windshield of one of the company cars, and Jonah literally grabbed it.
Yeah. So we all go running out there and try to wrangle these busted tents and try to save everybody's cars and not get electrocuted.
And the point of it is, Wayne, that was the only rehearsal time that we had. So the show that you're going to see online and you're going to hear much of on today was done without a full rehearsal at all. Wow. So we bring together these two musical groups. We bring together this amazing situation, and it's showtime. But there's more to that story because we'll talk to you about the forecast in just a second.
All right. Well, I'm anxious to hear this from the Dave Zanotti Band, headed by Jeff Taylor, and the song that was played that day. Let's listen to it, called Great Day.
Good morning, sun, rise and shine today. You know you've got to get going if you're gonna make a showing, and you've got the right of way. It's a good day for paying your bills. It's a good day for curing your ills. Take a deep breath and throw away the pills. It's a good day from morning till night. It's a good day from morning till night. It's a good day from morning till night.
We will be right back for more on the Public Square.
Chicago to LA, more than 2,000 miles all the way. Get your kicks on Route 66. All right, Stewie Frank.
Well, another song from the Declaration 250 celebration that included a groundbreaking ceremony at the American Mission Center, and it all happened on July 4th, and we're talking about the backstories of the whole event here today on the Public Square. Great fun, though, Dave.
We had two of the best female vocalists in Nashville, in Charlotte Ritchie and Camille French,
right.
And that's Camille French on lead on Route 66 and on Great Day. Jeff and I were talking, we're kind of Nat King Cole fans, and Nat King Cole's got a version of Route 66 with his trio that is just, it's beyond iconic. And I thought I could never enjoy any other. I loved what Camille and Jeff and the band did on that. That was such a great, great rendition.
Do you know what's funny? You talk about being a Nat King Cole fan. This whole event is a very multi-generational event. My son Ethan, who is 15, Nat King Cole, he thinks is the best vocalist to ever live.
Wow.
I would agree with him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think he'd get a lot of votes on that.
Yeah.
So that, well, and it was. And here's the thing: is okay. First off, let me go back to the forecast. So we got blown up the night before, no rehearsal. Now, Wayne, we brought the two most favorite bands. It's very personal for me because I am a firm believer, and I don't exactly know. I think this is Pauline theology, but I haven't written it all down yet.
Which is appropriate because he was a tent maker. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, wow. Boom, boom. That is why he is the Wayne Shepherd. And just like no rehearsals, these programs are completely unscripted. So maybe God in his providence wanted us to do a literal example of a totally unscripted and unrehearsed live event with only hundreds and hundreds of people from 8 states watching. And then you're going to broadcast it as well. But it is. So we got blown up the night before, no rehearsal. And now the question is, what's the forecast? Well, our event started at 2 o'clock and was going to run basically 2 to 4, and then we're going to do the groundbreaking. So it was going to be like 2 to 5. And the radar showed and the hourly showed that the next storm was going to hit at 2 p.m.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So we're starting at breakfast at the diner at 7 o'clock this morning with contingency plans. I thought I was like working for ABC or CBS or something. Like, okay, if this happens and that happens and this happens and that happens and then we do this and then we do that. And we have all this stuff going on. And Alan, it was easy, right, for you guys?
Well, this one's for Jonah. Not only was the rehearsal time blown up, Jonah had my son Caleb run cables the night before, camera cables, so that Jonah could then just walk out the next morning and plug all the cameras in. Well, when it's a torrential downpour, it was like a Charlie Brown scene where just the storm clouds over one guy. That's what it felt like, just dumping on the tent. And so you're not going to leave your cables laying around in that with the walls of the tent blown out. So we had to pull up all the cables that we had just laid, and then you had to relay them again the next morning while you guys are trying to come up with your contingency plans. Jonah's in company.
And rehearsal scheduled at 10, so guess what? There can't be any video rehearsal because
we're still laying the cables.
Up. Yeah. So here we go. And it's coming again at 2 o'clock. And on top of that, it's only 90 degrees. And so it was not. But now the good news in this giant circus tent, what we've got is air conditioning. So we have a wonderful company that loves what we do, and they actually air condition the tent. Now, if you sat in the first 10 or 15 rows, you were like, wow, this is great. Everyone else was fanning themselves like crazy. But even at that, the tent was about 15 degrees cooler than what was outside.
It was manageable.
Yeah, so it was manageable. But it would not have been had Patty not created these fans. And they have now become iconic mementos of the event. They're full 4-color, beautiful.
Genius.
And if you want to come to the grand opening when this building's constructed, we'll probably be giving some of those commemorative fans away. We're going to keep the ones that are left over.
Okay, these are not the kind of fans you plug in. These are little.
No, these are good
the
old
old Baptist
fans.
church
Okay,
on
right.
a little wooden tongue depressor. The picture of something on a cardboard attached to the end of this tongue depressor, and you fan
With
yourself.
a QR code
Right.
on the picture.
Yeah.
So
Well, they didn't
I mean,
have that back in the day.
old school
It's not
and new
too retro.
You used to get them at funeral homes, right?
Right.
I remember funeral homes passing those out. Yeah.
Yes. There you go. There you go. So here we are on day of, and the forecast is doom and gloom. And so I took a long walk 48 hours earlier when the forecast came in.
I bet you did.
By myself, up the hill that I walk on by myself alone for years and years and years. And I said, God, you know, when I used to play softball, I would pray that we wouldn't get rained out. And when I get into a golf tournament, I pray we didn't get rained out. Go to a big tournament, praying you don't get rained out. I think that the theology of this, to be faithful, would be to say, you say in your word, you make it crystal clear over and again, particularly in the book of Isaiah, that you always give us what's best for us. So I said, we're just going to pray that we'll have the weather that is best for us. If that means we're supposed to show people what it's like to endure a tornado, then God, may your name be praised and you be glorified. You'll use it for your glory, because we've had events in the past that turned into kind of cosmic disasters. One time, Norm Mulder had to stay up with me all night because he thought I was going on suicide watch because I was so depressed about an event we held in Florida that it blew up in every way you could imagine.
I was at that event.
It was just, and I was so sad. And what God did was he used that event in such a dynamic way. I can't even tell you all the things, wonderful, good that came out of that. So I thought, okay, God, you just give us what's best. You know, that forecast, those storms came in and they split north and south and left Valley City touched the whole day.
Jeff, I'm thinking of the effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking of a whole ton of psalms and everything. You'd almost think that there's a God out there or something.
I would have
You'd be
prayed.
excused for thinking so.
Yeah. I would have prayed, Lord, it can rain the rest of my life, but please not today.
I've seen that happen. I've seen that personally happen one other time. I was on a mission trip in Africa, and we were showing the Jesus film, that classic Jesus film, out in a field, and the storm clouds were looming, and they were low, and it looked ominous. And we had just set up a projector out in the middle of a field, and we were praying, God, please hold these back. So I totally believe that God can do that, and He hears those kind of prayers.
But we've always taught our kids that God's not a vending machine. You know, you can't just pop your prayer in and get out what you expect. So when you say, God, whatever you think is best, that's
perfect.
just super cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
The first time I ever prayed it, because I was back in softball days, like, God, you can't let this happen. Wait a minute, hang on, calm down here. All right, let's be consistent. And God's sovereign lordship is applicable to the tiniest details, and we saw that happening. Now, I'll tell you another thing. There's some moments where you say, gosh, are we even doing the right thing or not? I mean, are people going to get this? Wayne, part of the strategy of what we had was to try and do a celebration, a show that told a story in as few words as possible that would bring tribute to the Declaration of Independence, to the thoughts that made the Declaration happen, and to the critical importance that as a country we rediscover and recommit ourselves to these principles. Now, so you'd expect politicians to show up. You'd expect local officials to show up. You'd see a lot of speeches to be made in the air conditioning and people fanning themselves, thinking to themselves, I wish they'd just play the music and I need another hot dog. And by the way, the caterers were magnificent.
Yes, they were.
Worked out great. Everybody got fed, and they got fed all day long as they wanted to. No rain, nothing. Can you imagine the caterers setting up for all these people in this kind of a forecast? And they showed up in faith. Yeah.
Well, I walked over to the man that was manning the grill and flipping the burgers, and I said, I think you've got the hardest job today.
In the sun.
He was sweating bacon in the sun, and he had a great attitude.
Well, in honor of George Harvell, I walked over and gave them each money.
Oh, nice.
Thinking of Pitmaster George Harvell, I saw my friend, George, all the years he's done that. I said, somebody's, I just here, go buy some cold drink when we're done with all this. Yeah.
All right, we're talking about all these great stories that happened on July 4th, the day of the event, this dual event, celebration of the Declaration, 250 years, and the groundbreaking for Declaration Hall. And I wasn't there, but I can see it now. I can watch this now.
Yes, you can see it, you can watch it, and it is a classic event. And Wayne, what you're going to see and hear is we wanted to say this as much as we could with music and as few words as possible, this celebration. So we invited these two groups because in many ways they're the soundtrack of our lives. They've been the soundtrack of Christmas in America. They've been the soundtrack of so much. And personally, I have hours and hours of their music that I carry around in my head, and I found that spiritually, they help me in faith.
Yeah,
they help me stay in a faith position. So we brought Jeff Taylor and his First Call band in, and we brought an Ernie Haas signature sound. Now, not only are you going to get to see it, but you're getting a backstage pass to a concert that no one else was invited to except the folks here. People pay a lot of money to see the shows that these folks do. They each came and they laid down some music that will just amaze you, and you get to see it. Now, I will tell you, you see a lot of people sweating because it's still hot in that tent. It's organic footage, all right, but it's beautiful.
Well, let's get a sample of that great music that the audience heard on the 4th of July at the American Mission Center. And then if you want to watch the full event, it's available at thepublicsquare.com.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. Mountain mama, take me home. country road.
Back with you on the Public Square now. We are in a very happy mood here today because we now have made available the event from the 4th of July, which was held here at the American Mission Center. You can see it at thepublicsquare.com, but we're telling the backstories here today of what went into that full day. And I'm going to ask each of our panelists here. I'll start with you, Alan, a favorite memory of that day.
Well, there's a memory that we all have that we're going to get to.
Okay,
I think
you can't spend that one. That's,
yeah, I'm not going to.
Okay.
It's kind of like who's your favorite character in the Bible. You can't say Jesus. Okay, you got to pick another one. So this is kind of like that moment.
Okay.
so pick your second favorite moment. This is one of my favorite moments we just heard was Sonny French playing Country Roads and singing Country Roads. Because he did such a great job. He's just such a cool guy.
Yeah, he is.
As my kids say, he's chill.
Yeah.
He's just such a cool guy.
Yeah. When I grow up, I want to be like Sonny. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, in the reason that I loved it was because that song has made a resurgence among young people. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm not sure why. Maybe someone did a cover of it recently, or maybe it blew up on social media.
Well, they're singing it at ball games now. Did you hear that?
Yeah, so it's having a resurgence just kind of in general, and my kids love that song. It's so funny. It's a song that I grew up listening to with my parents, and now it's having this other generation, which I think is part of this whole event.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect pick. I don't know who picked it. Was that you, Dave?
No, it was Jeff.
Jeff picked it. So Sonny was the perfect person to play it, and it was a perfect song to play in that moment.
Let me tell you how much these musical wonders, all of them, every performer on that stage, I have so much respect for how much they care for the mission of the American Policy Roundtable and the Declaration of Independence. Wayne, you know how this works. These folks are extremely busy.
Oh, yeah.
Their Grammy nominations and awards are legendary.
Well, the French family have been playing the Grand Ole Opry now for a couple of years.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks before the event they were on, and so was Jeff. Jeff was on with Riders, Riders in the Sky on Grand Ole Opry, and then Jeff was on with the French Family Band later in the same show.
This was funny. This plays in. This was during the brief rehearsing time we had. We were doing some filming, and Jeff was amazed that I have different facial hair than he didn't recognize me. And so he said, "Hey, the last time I saw you was in the stands at the Grand Ole Opry," because Jeff came up into the stands and said hi to my family the last time we were there. And so his band goes, "Why were you in the stands?" They were horrified and aghast that Jeff Taylor would ever be in the stands at the Grand Ole Opry. He needs to be on stage. And so that he had to explain. He's like, no, I was saying hi to the Duncan family. So
that's so funny. So with all this experience and all this notoriety, I asked Jeff and Ernie Haas, would you come? Now, this is the 4th of July. Ernie Haas was that night before, all right, on the 3rd of July, doing a sold-out 4th of July presentation at the Kennedy Center. They drove all night to be with us.
Wow.
Jeff and his whole gang drove the prior day, all day, to get to us, and then got blown up in the storm on top of it. All right, fortunately, we were eating inside. Dinner was good. All right, but and I asked them to each do 7 songs. That's all. And we put them together for a 14-song show. Now, legends don't come usually and share a stage with anybody, and they sure don't come for half a performance. But they came because they believe in the mission of what we're doing.
Yep.
They're the soundtrack of our lives, but they're more than that. They're more than performers, and they are brilliant artists. But they care.
I thought you were going to point out that Sonny was probably the youngest man on the stage, right?
Yeah.
And yet, then we go the whole age gamut, and they all love the American mission, right?
Yeah, it's remarkable. It really is. And so, in fact, we were talking when you drove in that day. First thing you did when you drove in is you saw this giant blow-up slide and bounce houses, because Kids on the Square was everywhere on that property. We had more kids. I was thinking that we lowered the median age of a conservative event by 25 years in one weekend. There were so many kids here.
Jeff, I hope you stayed out of that bounce house.
Well, I want to make the point that I was so pleased. This is not my favorite moment, but I was so pleased that this was not an event where there was just a bunch of old white-haired people like myself there. There were so many children and teenagers. It was absolutely wonderful.
Okay, your favorite.
Your second favorite moment.
Bringing my family inside the American Mission Center and showing them the recording studio here, and then taking them upstairs to the library and saying, this is where Alan and I make the YouTube videos, the shorts, and just walking them around, their jaws dropped at how nice and beautiful everything is here, and it really is. That was my favorite.
Melanie.
Well, I agree. I had family members here and totally enjoyed grandkids being here with me and all of that, and enjoyed the concert. But I have to say my favorite moment was listening to Dennis Parker's rendition of Jesus Loves Me. It was beautiful. Oh. And to me, when you think about the fact that God loves us so much that he gave us Jesus, I almost feel like in an overprivileged position that feeling an extension of that love through his gift of the Declaration and the freedoms that we have here to worship, to speak, to defend our property, to defend our lives, all of the different protections and provisions within the Declaration, which led into the Constitution. But the fact that he verbalized sort of the embodiment of all of that with a focus on God's love for us was just amazing to me.
Yeah, he sang that a couple years ago at Christmas in America too. Wasn't it dry?
Brought
eye
the
in
house down.
Yeah.
And it was
beautiful.
Funny because I came up to him afterwards and I said, Dennis, I've heard you perform that number in Nashville and a couple of other places a number of times. You've never sang it better than you did today. Never sang it better than today.
Wow.
It was absolutely wonderful.
Okay,
and,
Dave, time for your favorite memory.
All right. Well, that'd be my second favorite memory.
We're getting to get everyone's favorite memory in a moment. Okay.
Second favorite memory. I think I've got to say I am overwhelmed that when we do things like this, we have events. I mean, if people knew how hard events are, and we've been at this for 46 years, we've done a lot of events, and events can burn you into a cinder. I mean, it is very, very difficult. And events, no matter who you do, where, how, whatever, they're expensive. And you get to the place you say, if I could just do everything virtual, I would, because think of all the sweat we wouldn't have, all the costs, all the time, all the energy. Wayne, for 46 years, we've been doing what we've been doing by the grace of God. And this team has seldom, if ever, let anybody see him sweat. Now, it's kind of a pun because it was so hot, there was no way you were not going to sweat. You'll see that when you see the video, which makes it even more fun. I have never seen a group of people work harder to care more for people. And I was so overwhelmed by the people who came and the communion that we felt because they knew they were in a spot where people loved them, thanked God, were thanking God for them. The encouragement of that fellowship totally overwhelms me. And the service of people here, Wayne, I'm telling you, man, these people work their tails off to pull this off.
God has put together a great team here, no question about it. Well, all of you have a favorite memory, and you all wanted to share it, but we said, no, you got to wait because we're going to share it together, and we'll get to that next here on the Public Square. What's the favorite memory of the whole team for that whole day at the American Mission Center? We'll find out when we come back on the Public Square.
Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so.
We will be right back for more on the Public Square.
Talking about Declaration 250 that took place on the 4th of July, and you have an opportunity to see it now at thepublicsquare.com. Dave, let's talk about one more magnificent memory. You guys have told me what this. I can't wait to see it on the video.
Well, and here's the thing, Wayne. How do you tell the story in as few words as possible? How do you take something of such incredible? I mean, historian Paul Johnson, British historian, said that the American experience, the founding of America, is the greatest adventure in the human experience. I mean, we talk about the statements that have been made about the epic, historical, once-in-a-lifetime, nation born in a day reality of July 4th, 1776. How can you tell that story with as few words as possible? Well, we chose music, we chose joy, we chose fellowship and family and so many things.
Food.
Yeah, don't forget the food. It was outstanding.
Yummy.
and friends and so people, of course, now the burden's on me, right? That's why I'm the chairman. So it's like me to deliver the address? No. Ernie Haas finished with a magnificent rendition of God Bless America. The people were standing in an ovation. Suddenly, everything went dead silent. And a 10-year-old girl walked up onto the stage and from memory, without cue cards, gave a recitation.
Hi, my name is Clara, and today I will be reciting for you an excerpt from the Declaration of Independence. On July 4th, 1776, the Second Continental Congress, representing the 13 original colonies of the United States, adopted a resolution unanimously declaring the colonies' independence from Great Britain. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitles them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, and that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, building its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form that to them will seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that government long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a desire to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such is the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for rectitude to our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people in these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, and they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
we spontaneously rose to our feet and gave her a standing ovation. And my wife said to me not long after that, and my wife does not normally preach a sermon that's alliterated, but she did when she said, Clara was confident, she was calming, she calmed me down, she said, and she was commanding. She was acting it out and commanded our attention.
I think it's rare for a 10-year-old to have that much confidence in delivery, to understand with her inflection, she understood the content, and she was using vocabulary that was beyond her years. So she had used this presentation in a competition and had received acclamations for her participation previous to this event. So from my perspective, it was almost like her getting some finality in including what she had worked so hard to master into this actual celebration of the declaration on Celebrate 250.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had family members who were there that kept looking at me throughout. People kept expecting it to end. You know, everybody knows maybe the first little bit. They kept expecting it to end. It just kept going. And so people just kept looking at me, going, yeah, she's still going? Their mouths open. They were jaws on the floor. And my comment afterwards, the way I felt was I've been in a lot of locker rooms over the years where a coach tries to inspire his team. And it usually leaves me cold. If you're trying to inspire me, it's probably not going to work. Or you've been in a lot of sermons where the pastor's like, can I get an amen? If you got to ask for it, I ain't giving it. I was ready to run through a brick wall for that 10-year-old girl after hearing her recite those words. It was so inspiring. I was looking for a red coat anywhere.
Hearing all of you talk about it, it sounds like the simplicity of the day won the day, right? I mean, here's a little girl, 10 years old, reciting one of the most important documents in human history, and she's doing it with, a 10-year-old girl's voice. I mean, to me, that's masterful. Mm-hmm. You really have to see it. It's on the video, and you can see that at thepublicsquare.com. If you have to leave us at this time, you can listen to the rest of the program online at thepublicsquare.com. But when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about what happened that day.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain. America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, God shed His grace on thee.
We will be right back for more on the Public Square.
Well, you've heard some backstories here today on the Public Square. It's so good as a team to relive that day that took place on the 4th of July. And once again, we realize that some of you haven't seen it yet. It's available at thepublicsquare.com in video, and I'm going to go watch it as soon as I'm done here today. So,
Wayne, if you can believe it, I had to follow that 10-year-old.
oh, goodness, okay.
Toughest act I've ever had to follow in my life, I want to tell you. What the old vaudeville people say about you don't ever want to have to follow a show with pets or dogs or children. It's like you can't win. But what was beautiful was nothing else really needed to be said except let's go turn the dirt and start this project.
Yeah.
Because everything that was said by the person who said it, representing all the kids on the square, all the kids in the tent, all the kids at home, all the kids of our nation.
Well, it had to be a moment of recommitment to America, too, didn't it?
When you realize that this is what America is all about, is the translation of the principles of liberty from one generation to the next. And we've all lamented how they're being forgotten and all lamented what isn't happening. But here is something that is happening in living proof and living color. And there were kids all over that property. We had staff kids running cameras that day and running kids on the square and running the wiffle ball tent and all the things that happened were amazing. And it's all about liberty moving from one generation to the next. And that can't be done effectively unless we remember the words and remember the why. And that's why we started 46 years ago, is so that we would not forget. Ronald Reagan warned us that if we forget where we came from, we'll never know where we're heading. He warned us that forgetting these principles was the gravest danger facing our republic, far more than any adversary from outside. And so as an organization, we've been doing this, and now we're building this building. We're building it because it is going to be an effectual center to call people to who will come here from all over this nation for events, for teaching, for training, for curriculum, and products will go out from this center that will help touch people at all levels of media. And what is thrilling to me is that the center that we're in right now, the American Mission Center, which is right next door, the American Mission Center is here, and then you'll drive right to the house of John Adams, which we're literally recreating John and John Quincy Adams' home that John Adams raised John Quincy in. From Quincy, we're literally building that front, and that's our museum. You enter into that gallery lobby as a tribute to the ideas of the Declaration, and that's where we will celebrate the Declaration, and then we will experience all that there is to learn from those principles inside this great hall that's being built. And it's thrilling, it's exciting. And this is the first most important thing that we must do. Now, we work in litigation, we work in legislation, anything, we work in elections, we work on all the stuff every day that you hear bantered about on the news stations. Now, in regards to what's happening on this bill, what's happening on this court suit, we've been doing all this for 46 years. But you must do both. For years, we've had the theory of pie. That's why we serve pie at all of our events, by the way. We served it at this event. They were great. You see pictures of them. You go to the video, you'll see it. Right. That's why it was pie. And what is pie? Principles, issues, and elections. That's the field in which we serve, and that's what people are waiting for and listening for and supporting all over the country. And Wayne, I just want to make sure that we make it clear that if you want to do something for America, not just talk about what's wrong, not just lament, even more than prayer, you can join us in this process. Now, we have no fundraisers on our staff. We have no development company contracted to build this project. The estimates on getting this done are not astronomical. We're not talking about a $100 million procedure here. It's the second part of our development of the 5-acre campus that we have in Valley City, Ohio. God gave us the land through a generous donor, and people opened the American Mission Center fully paid fully paid as a testimony. And it's been used mightily by God and will continue going forward. This particular operation right now, we're working on the quotes and the numbers, maybe $8, maybe $9, maybe $10 million. It's not like 20 or 50. It's a very reasonable, because we already own the property and because utilities are already here. We can do so much. But what's interesting is the American Mission Center was built with the contributions of over 600 people from around the country. And it was paid for at $3.5 million. And we very rarely talk about money in numbers on this program. But by God's grace, we already have $3.6 million committed to Declaration Hall.
Thank God.
Before we turned the ground that day. And we took no collection that day, by the way. It did not close in an offering, nor will this show close in an offering, except to say, if you want to do something to overcome evil by doing good, we're all doing this, and you'd be very welcome to be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for sharing these memories, this backstory of what took place then. And again, if you want to see the whole presentation on video, it's available online at thepublicsquare.com. It's a must-watch, let me tell you. I'm very anxious to see the whole thing myself. And again, my apologies for not being there that day. If you're going to do it again, I'll put it on my calendar, Dave. So,
well, I'll tell you what, 2 years from now, it'll take about 2 years to build this thing. And don't wait, by the way, because the more contributions we have, the faster everything will go. And so just so you know.
And the upside is we won't have a tent.
All right, Dave, you said we're not taking an offering here today. We're going to give an offering to our listeners. We're going to offer you God Bless America, as sung that day by Ernie Haas and Signature Sound.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, yes, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountain to the prairie to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home. My home sweet
The Public Square is a broadcast service of the American Policy Roundtable.